What's going on, Mr. Scott?
Hey, Joe, what's shaking?
Good, man. Good. Can you see me? Because I can't see myself yet.
No, I can't see you.
Start video. FaceTime HD camera. Come on. There we go.
There he is. I'm at the broker's office today. Usually I do it from home, but
I love your office, man.
yeah, it's a cool place. And I think your son knew this. The pho chef at Magasin, I don't know if he quit or what, but they don't have pho right now.
You know what? We still go over there just to go over to Prairie, grab some beers, and then just get the finger foods. Like I finally have those wings that you talked about over there.
Mm-hmm.
It was good. So, and it's too bad because the pho was delicious.
They have some good bao as well.
Oh, got to try that next time.
Yeah. So,
I'm sorry,
what's going on with you?
And everything.
Nothing much. I'm just finally here. I think I missed the last one or two of them.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm glad to be
One note is I started recording them after we had Rose from P3 Accounting, and she suggested I start recording them. And I put them on YouTube and then our Facebook page, which Kelsey and I have been managing and trying to filter out scammers who try to join, which is several a week. So.
Oh, yeah, I bet. Yeah.
I know.
She was nodding her head like, yeah.
Mm-hmm. So
I get the
Aaron,
ones in the middle of the night. I get up really early, so I get the so-and-so wanted to join, didn't answer any questions, hasn't been on Facebook but a week, and it's just no.
yeah, I let one guy slip by, and within 2 minutes he had a post with a sketchy link, and I was like, "You're out."
I have to police the Facebook group, but.
Mm-hmm. So Aaron, where are you joining us from?
I'm in Southside, Oklahoma City,
Okay.
joining you from the house.
All right, cool.
Working from home right now. So
Where in Southside?
Western and 134th area.
Oh, so almost to Moore.
Almost to Moore, yeah. All the storms worry me. This is the first year I've lived this close to Tornado Alley. And so I'm from the north side, and I'm actually I'm starting to join a lot more of these events. I own my house, and I'm living with the girlfriend, and so I am remodeling my house right now to put it up as a rental property.
Oh, nice.
Or sell it. I'm trying to figure out what to do, and learning from other people is the best way to do that. So I know rental's been kind of tough for people, just with the moratorium and just the way the world's working right now. Mm-hmm. So I'm kind of debating on selling it versus renting it, but the remodel is the hardest part. I don't know how to do anything yet, so it's all
Are you
learning.
Doing it yourself?
I've done most of it myself, but I found a contractor recently, and he walked to the house with me and said he could finish it up. And so I think I'm going to go that way, take it off my hands instead of working 16-hour weekends plus my 40-hour week job. Probably let someone else take a little lead there.
Yeah, it's totally worth the investment as long as you're going out there a couple times a week and checking on the progress of it. I've found this out the hard way sometimes. If I'm not good at something and I don't enjoy it, then I should hire it out because it helps you leverage your time and it helps you be in more in one place at a time. So definitely a good decision on your part. Where is the house on the north side that you're going to sell?
It's off like 50th and Tulsa, over by Putman City Original, DeLisi Park, right over there.
Okay, it's a nice little area. Is
it
in 4 acres or is it Oklahoma City limits?
Oklahoma. It's in Oklahoma City.
All right, cool.
So
and we got Tony, who's new with us on the call.
How's everyone doing?
Good, man. Where are you calling in from?
I'm actually calling from California, Southern California.
Okay.
Yeah, so looking at the Oklahoma City market, see for rental properties there.
Tony, click your video button at the bottom left of your screen. There should be a button that's red checked out that says something about video, because we can't see you yet.
I know I'm camera shy, Joe. Maybe next time.
Okay.
Sorry about that.
That's all right. Well, we almost have more Californians on this call than we do Oklahomans.
Yeah, Tony, where in California, Tony?
You guys know where the Pasadena area is?
Absolutely.
Where the Rose Bowl is?
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
from
so
San-
I'm in a
I'm in San
yeah,
Diego.
so yeah, I'm about 10 minutes away from there east. In a city called Arcadia.
Yep.
So there you go, Joe. Sounds like you're familiar with the area, huh?
Well, I'm in San Diego. I'm from San Diego, so
Oh, nice.
I know it well.
Yeah, nice.
And then
And if
Edwin,
they'd only move Pasadena closer to LAX, I would live in Pasadena. It's just too far away from the airport.
Yeah, unfortunately, it is what it is.
and then we got Edwin. He's from
Burbank,
Northern
though, right?
California in the Bay Area. And then Kelsey, you're kind of
Hello.
you have two homes, so you could be Californian and Oklahoman. So a lot of California influence on this call, a lot of California interest in Oklahoma City.
I guess I'm the Grapes of Wrath representative.
Okay, we'll call you Tom Jode for this. A deep John Steinbeck poll. But Tony, tell us about your interest in Oklahoma City. What, Joe included, I met a lot of out-of-state investors looking to either live in Oklahoma City or invest in Oklahoma City. But what drew your interest to this part of the country?
Just looking around. I mean, I like the rent ratios there. That's what drew me to it. At first I was looking within the Texas market, but it got kind of overpriced, and Arizona it's the same thing as Texas. So next state over was Oklahoma. So,
Okay.
I thought it had good fundamentals there.
Yeah, taxes, or at least property taxes, are much lower in Oklahoma relative to Arizona and Texas. I know Texas doesn't have a state income tax, so they pretty much make up for that property tax. I have a client moving here from Austin, moving to Oklahoma City, and they've pretty much been priced out of their home in the Austin area just based on the property taxes, because everything's appreciated so much that they have maybe 5 years on their mortgage, but when and if that happened, they're not older people, so there's no freeze on their property tax. So we're seeing a lot of that in the Austin area, people looking at Oklahoma because it is so much more affordable from a tax perspective.
Got it.
Yeah, so maybe Joe, you and Tony need to connect, because Joe started investing in Oklahoma City. He and I have put a couple under contract here in the last month or so. And Joe, why don't you share what you've learned about Oklahoma City so far and the transactions we've been working on?
I guess the biggest thing is because I'm a Bigger Pockets fan, and everybody's a lot of time in the different videos are talking about buying from wholesalers and different things like that. And the biggest thing I've learned is that the deals coming from the wholesalers are crap for the most part. That's probably the biggest thing for me. So most of the stuff that we found on the MLS and just negotiated, either to get them in line, with the price that makes sense for us, or, we were lucky enough to find a owner carryback on our second one. So just kind of tell you a quick story. My son bought a house out there in January from Ben. And then with the plan that we were going to start building a portfolio for him and teaching him how to, manage real estate, own real estate. He's 22. He moved from LA, Hollywood, to Oklahoma City, went from a small studio to a huge 3-bedroom house. But, I think most of what I've learned is just the fact that you really got to kind of dig through the deals, but they're out there. You just got to find them. We have two under contract right now that are scheduled to close probably next week.
Yeah, and there's been some talk on the Bigger Pockets forums about wholesalers, and I've always cautioned that the ARV from wholesalers can be dubious. It's a very glass full mentality. I'm not sure where they're coming up with some of their ARVs. So it can be, and then also things like square footage, beds and baths, more so square footage, but those things can be difficult to verify because especially if a home's older and it hasn't been measured since it was built, you could lose some square footage when you end up buying that and remodeling it and eventually maybe try to refinance that if you don't do your due diligence on some of those things. Edwin's on the call with audio. Edwin, I know you've been working on your fourplex in Edmond. Can you give us an update on what's going on?
Yeah, definitely. Let me know if my audio cuts out.
Your audio is great.
In the mountains right now, but okay, great. Yeah, so got just recap, I think it's been a couple of meetings since I've been here, but I found sale by owner quadplex on Zillow, and we're supposed to close on Friday, actually. The fourplex is actually 4 individual condos, so I'm getting 4 personal loans on it.
Really?
I'd love to hear if anybody on the call has experienced getting a conventional loan for 4 separate properties. When I talked to the lenders, we don't lend for townhouses and condos, or it was, well, it just depends on you will follow that. So you've got lots of documents to sign remotely this week, but we're on schedule. There's a new roof that's getting put on it, so I feel really fortunate that with this quadplex in the single family state, in both occasions, the sellers putting the new roof on it through insurance, new cap
When your audio is getting a little spotty on us.
Got it. Sorry. Yeah, well, we should be closing on Friday, and it's been a great experience. So Tony, welcome.
Good.
Thank you.
Okay.
Hey, I was curious, how do you guys look and find your deals? I know some of my routes are, real estate agents, networking through meetings, but I know we talk about like owner financing a lot. How else do you guys find your deals?
Well, Joe's really focused on, he likes Northeast Oklahoma City, and he had talked about even doing some door knocking and some direct mail in some of the neighborhoods that he's interested in. And that kind of where you're communicating directly to the seller, you're not going through whether it be an agent or a wholesaler. And oftentimes you can find some really good deals that way. And then networking again with owner finance, because there's a lot of tired landlords out there that own their properties free and clear. And they're just, in my experience, just looking for the cash flow that they've been experiencing for the last 20 plus years, but they don't want the headaches.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy, the one that we got that was the owner finance deal, because Ben, you had made the phone call on my behalf, and they offered the owner financing.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're like, really? So here we are coming in with about 5% down, and he's carrying the balance for 5 years. So it's a good deal. It's getting us in with the low price so we can go ahead and do the renovations that we need to do. So less money in up front. So worked out well.
And it sounds like, why would anyone consider owner finance? Well, there's, a couple good reasons. One is the tax benefit, where you're not going to have to pay capital gains on whatever, because if your cost basis, you bought it 30 years ago, your cost basis could be $10,000. So you'd be paying capital gains on whatever those proceeds are. And then also there's a very strong possibility that many people that enter into owner finance agreements do that because they have bad credit and they are more likely to default. So if you as a seller, you get that down payment from someone, and then if they default, the owner finance agreement has been severed, and you can retake back the property and keep any of those payments and the down payment. So it's almost a business model that I know a lot of large property owners in Oklahoma City, like Khalidi is one. He's built a Kia dealership off this model: is buy properties at a tax sale, only offer a quick claim deed to the buyer for owner finance. And if they fulfill the agreement, great, because you've been collecting 10% interest for 20 years. If they don't, you take back the property and find another person to fill it with a large down payment. Anyone on this call has presumably got their shit together and probably wouldn't default, but it can be a good way to get interest in a property without a ding on your credit, or without having to go seek bank financing.
Yeah, I think the guy that we're dealing with on 21st, he bought it as a rental, and when I think the tenant kind of moved out unexpectedly, and there's repairs that are needed, so he kind of offered it owner financing because he'd like to continue collecting the monthly payments that he was getting, but it gives us an opportunity to come in. So it's working out. I like it. I'm excited to close.
Yeah, Aaron, how have you been looking for your deals right now? Or
Yeah. So I guess I am. This is incredibly new, right? Because I owned my house for 8 years, and that's the one I'm remodeling. But the goal. My personal goal is to retire from the 8 to 5 job and become full time in 2 years, 5 at the very most. But I was told I can do it in 6 months if I, really get moving. So I'm trying to, right now, all I'm looking through is networking through real estate agents. They use the NMLS, but I haven't had the time to do the door knocking. And I think one of my goals is to wait till this home is completed before I look for the next deal, because I don't want to over leverage myself prior to cash flowing this property or selling it and getting off the books to have the capital to reinvest. So I'm kind of stuck there. And then I listen to Bigger Pockets, and they talk about deal analysis all the time. And I'm also trying to find a mentor or someone who can maybe walk me through or teach me what deal analysis looks like for them when you go to invest in a property. So I guess I'm just like starting at the ground level and trying to find a good foundation.
Do you have quite a bit of equity in your house in the Putnam City area?
Yeah, see, I have quite a bit of equity. I think the real estate agent that I talked to said that with a full remodel, I could get 189 at the very high for it. I owe 88 on it, and the rest of the remodel, I was told from the contractor might be about $8,000 to bring it to the top of the line remodel that I need to get that 180 to 189 mark. So
what are you spending your money on for the remodel?
For the contractor, we're doing paint. We're doing a new fresh coat of paint. I'm going to finish the floors, do the kitchen and the front bathroom, and that'll be paint, cabinets, new hardware. I was discussing with him about new appliances because what I have is a little older, very good, in good shape, but just really old. And then ceiling fans were something we discussed as well, since mine are incredibly outdated. Those were the primary. There's some other nuances. I think light fixtures. There are some other little items in there just to kind of clean up, patch some holes or what have you from old outlets that aren't being used. But that's the primary remodel items.
That's good. I was confronted with this situation recently, and all these things have been done before we met with the seller. But they spent a considerable amount. They were proactive about their roof. The roof may or may not have needed to be replaced, but they thought, let's be proactive about this and take care of it up front. So they spent $15,000 on a new roof with all new guttering, thinking they would get that value back on the open market. They also preemptively bought a hot water heater. So theirs hadn't gone out yet, but they figured, we don't want this to come up in inspection, so let's be upfront about it, take care of it on the front end, and that'll add value to the house. Those things did not add value to the house, and they don't from an appraiser's perspective, because those are seen to be, there should be an expectation that a roof and a hot water heater are in working order. So they spent their money really in the wrong places and didn't get that back. And when the appraisal came in and didn't give them credit for some of those things they dropped quite a bit of money on, they were pretty upset, not with us, but more just the situation. And if we'd been able to have that conversation before, then they probably would have saved quite a bit of money. So it's good to hear that you're spending money on things that that buyers like and renters, and then also things that appraisers will give you value for.
Yeah, I did some of the research there just to make sure, because I don't need a new roof, but it will need a new roof. Probably not too far in the future, another year or so. So it's gonna need a new roof, but it's still there's no leaks. It's in working condition. So outside of maybe a few patches, and when I say patches, just like kind of nailing down maybe some of the pieces that kind of came up a tad just over the years. I mean, some maintenance would be all I think I would need there on the roof side, which is fine. But that's the stuff we're working on right now.
If you end up renting it out, and the roof is not leaking, just leave it. I mean, wait till the next hailstorm comes through, because it will. And try to save money where you can, because it doesn't make much, unless the roof has failed and leaking, doesn't make much sense to replace the roof with a tenant inside. They don't care.
Right, right. And that's what I guess I'm trying to decide. Do you guys all primarily do flips or buy and holds? And do you have kind of an opinion on what the market's like right now? Because my interest is to sell because of the market being hot, but I know it's going to cool down. So, but I have a lot of equity and I can refinance and cash flow really well with this home as well. So I think I'm in a prime position. I'm in a good position both ways from the way I see it.
Yeah, I mean, there is, and we talked about this on the last call, of why there is a housing shortage in Oklahoma right now. I think cannabis is a big reason for it. That's pretty much overnight created a huge industry in Oklahoma that wasn't there previously. That's drawn a lot of out of state, a lot of international interest. A lot of folks from China have bought property here and are growing marijuana and cannabis. And so those type of investments didn't exist in Oklahoma 3 years ago, before they passed the weed laws. So I feel like the demand, especially on the buying side, is there. On the tenant side, there's quite a bit of demand there too. It's getting tenants it's worth waiting a couple weeks, in my opinion, to fill a property with the right tenant at the right rental rate. I know a lot of new landlords, they are so anxious to get a warm body in there to start paying rent, that they won't do their due diligence on the applications and will negotiate against themselves for the rent and the terms. And if you do end up renting out that property in North Oklahoma City, I would be patient and wait for the right applicant, because there is a demand out there. Anybody else have any input on just the demand for housing in Oklahoma City right now?
Well, to answer your question, Aaron, though, I'm buy and hold. I don't know about everybody else, but we're definitely looking to build a portfolio and to have to build up a good rental flow of income. Also, they still cash flow. There's still good opportunities out there. I've also been in real estate in San Diego for 30 plus years. If you because of the equity you have, if you can still cash flow that property, I would keep it and just do a cash out refi. And as that pays down again, you'll have an opportunity some number of years from now to be able to use that as leverage again. Whereas if you sell it, you're kind of done. That one's passed, and then you've got to continue rebuilding. Now, what is your investing strategy? What are you hoping to do in the future?
The goal is buy and hold into the portfolio. I just know, or from what I've read and listened to, that's just a longer process sometimes. And I'm not versed in the OPM strategy or finding other resources outside of my peer group to invest at a faster pace. So as an individual, I want to learn how to make this my full-time job in the next couple years. 2 years would be my primary number. But I don't know if I'm able to do that doing just buy and holds.
In my opinion, it can be done. One thing that you'll probably, since you're kind of like at the ground floor starting, you're really going to have to look at probably creating some type of marketing campaign, or at least learning, the marketing aspect of, marketing for purchase opportunities. What I've found from the dealings that I've had over the last 6 months to a year is that a lot of the good opportunities, the agents that are working for these will keep for themselves before they give them and put them out to us. So what you see on the MLS has generally been picked through. The good deals don't ever make it to the MLS. So for us to have those opportunities, you say, be able to retire and go full time in a couple of years, we have to accelerate our ability to make purchases, which means we got to figure out how to go out there and get in front of the sellers ourselves one way or another to start creating opportunities for ourselves, because the good deals aren't coming to us if we're waiting for wholesalers and agents to bring them to us.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and as far as I would hold on to, if your strategy is buy and hold, I would hold on to your house in North Oklahoma City, rent it out, and then refi and pull that cash out and do something with it. either way, if you flip it and you sell for profit, then you're probably going to end up with the same amount as you would if you cashed out refi, but you still have that asset that that will generate cash flow and you can borrow against in the future. So like dad, poor dad is always never sell a cash producing asset because it doesn't make much sense to from a tax perspective or just a long-term wealth building perspective. Kate, what have you been working on? I know you guys do a lot of remodels in the metro. How's the price of materials affected what you guys do?
I mean, so like I said before, the last time I was here, I'm in like a lot of builders groups and stuff. And it seems like in other places, the prices of materials are higher than they are here still. But oh man, it's been hard because whenever we're handling a full remodel for somebody, they already have like a planned budget. And that means that we're having to cut other places short to make up for, just basic materials. And it's been harder, but I don't know. We'll just have to see where it goes.
Do your clients recognize the price of materials has gone up, or is
yes, because a lot of the people that we work with are people who already do flips. Like someone that, we've worked on their personal home. They actually live in Gaillardia, and they are a mortgage broker. So he and his wife are already well aware of it. They know what they're going to be expecting, but at the same time, whenever you get into a flip, you have to stay below a certain point just to make it profitable. So, even though they know that the price of materials have gone up, we still have to compensate, somewhere else for that.
Well, I've heard a lot of builders that, people signed building agreements maybe right when the pandemic started, before they broke ground. I mean, a lot of those builders are breaking even or maybe even losing money on some of their new builds just because the price of materials have gone up so much. I think our broker was saying a building package for a standard new build of lumber, what used to be around $24,000 is now $60,000. So a lot of that's going to cycle up with new construction.
I'm surprised people are still building.
I know.
It's really, the price is just, the cost is so high. I'm surprised that there are still people right now signing contracts to start to build, in 3 months.
Mm-hmm.
I just, which is why, we already have a housing shortage basically, or at least on the market. So I don't know. It's wild.
I know it is wild. What part of town are most of your flips, or are they just kind of all over?
Mostly North Oklahoma City. Whenever we're working for other people, mostly North Oklahoma City. We remodel everywhere, but when people are remodeling for flips, it's usually like north of like 50th, anywhere in the Village. We haven't done one in Nichols Hills yet, so I'm looking forward to doing that. I think that'll be really fun. But north of 50th into Edmond.
Are you seeing any just from an aesthetic point of view? Because it's been, for the last 5 years, it's been whites and grays, right? Just pretty much everybody wants white and gray. Gray walls, white backsplash, quartz countertop. Are you seeing any new trends that people are wanting, or house flippers are maybe trying to make trendy?
Not in Oklahoma. Of course, everybody has Instagram, so they're all, looking everywhere. But in Oklahoma, no, there's still people doing the modern farmhouse here. We're always, like 5 years behind.
Mm-hmm.
So everything that's cool here is, people are already moving out of it
from the coasts, and then it like kind of finally reaches Oklahoma, and then
we're behind by like 5 years.
We've been over that for years. We're not doing that anymore.
Exactly.
Wood grain is actually coming back. That's the newer styles.
Wood grain?
That I'm seeing in newer houses. That wood grain.
Well, that'll make a lot of older ladies that I've met very happy, because a lot of the older sellers and buyers I've met,
it's not the same look. It's not that same like oak cabinet look, but definitely like the kitchen cabinets having a wood grain, not having a paint on them. Especially if you look at, like, I get Dwell magazine. I mean, that's what they're putting in all those houses. It's like wood grain cabinets now.
Interesting. Yeah, because I've had a lot of older sellers, just their apoplectic that you would paint over that beautiful wood grain cabinets, and it just breaks their heart. And you have to explain that's what the trend is. Maybe in 20 years we'll go back to avocado as a color for everyone's countertops and refrigerators. Maybe not. The 70s let's forget about the 70s, but it is interesting to see the cycles of trends in housing.
Well, coming from
That's what color some of my house is, the avocado.
Avocado.
Okay,
Cool.
They painted over it, or it's behind the countertops, the splash that they put up. So if I ever pull that down, I have to paint that. But
well, let me ask you this,
see that
Aaron. Do
color.
you have a can opener mounted to the bottom of one of your cabinets? Because that was always a big selling feature in the 70s. Okay.
No, they don't
the
have that.
best
They
feature
do
of
have
a kitchen. That is the
They
best
do have
feature.
a few of the older looking fold up napkin holders mounted at the top of the cabinets. The ones that fold in and then you stick the napkins up. And nowadays people just stick them on their countertops and spin them out. But I do have one or two of those fold down paper towel holders.
Okay.
But no
I have a
can
house in
openers.
Edmond that has a trash compactor. It hasn't worked in years,
Oh wow.
but that was a thing in the 60s and 70s was trash compactors.
People are putting them back in their houses now.
Really?
Yeah, in new builds.
See,
So
what's
what's the value add for a trash compactor?
I think people who, they just they don't want to fill up their trash can too much. They want it to be like compact and neat, and that way they don't have overflowing trash cans.
Are they afraid of touching the trash by pushing it down?
I don't know.
Okay.
Oh.
I'm not here to judge.
I would save that space for a wine fridge instead of a trash compactor.
Well, Kelsey, what's going on?
One of my friends has a house in Burbank, and his thing is he loves the 50s, and he's got the set-in countertop blender, like the blender, like it's fixed into the countertop.
I've seen those.
Wow.
And then when his neighbor, they sold the house or something, they were going to do the construction and like completely redo the house. He knew that neighbor had one, and he went over and said, "Are you going to take it out?" And they're like, "Yes." And so he took it. So his house is really cool. He has a skee ball machine too.
Okay. Well, see, if I had a built-in blender, I would feel like obligated to do a lot of blending because it's taking up so much counter space. Same with the can opener. So maybe it's pushing us to a certain lifestyle. But Kelsey, what's going on with you? I know you've been having some headaches with contractors. Everything going better with all that?
Well, I got everything's done except for the fireplace, and then it had to be. Everybody just had surgery and went back to work too quickly, and then they had to go take 2 more weeks off. And this week it's just funerals and my grandma turning 101. So
wow, congratulations!
Yeah, tomorrow's her birthday.
Happy birthday, Grandma! That's cool.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. So.
Well, hey Tony, do you have any questions specifically about the Oklahoma City market that you've been curious about?
In terms of insurance wise, I guess I've been kind of doing my due diligence. It looks like it's about $700 a door or so per year. Is that correct, Money Chance, Ben and Joe? Would you guys be able to elaborate on that?
$700 a door?
Yeah, per year. I mean, per month. I'm sorry about that.
Oh, $700 a month?
Yeah.
Well, keep searching then, because the one that I just got a quote from Progressive just yesterday that's less than $100 a month for a 3-bedroom, 1-bath, 1,000 square foot house.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I have 2 duplexes, and I think it's $175 a month for each of those. And then any single family I have is anywhere from $100 to $120. So I would investigate that more to see what they're baking in that policy of what it covers, because they might be covering personal property inside the home, which that's not really your concern. Your concern is just the outside structure and then, any flooding or anything like that. So yeah, 700 a month would be way out of whack with my experience.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I would
'cause
say
I
on
guess-
average it's about $100 a month per door.
Mhm.
Got it.
Yeah, I would say about 100 a door.
Got it. Yeah, because I guess they include the wind and hail, obviously, for the tornadoes and stuff like that over there.
Mhm.
But yeah, I thought it was extremely expensive. I was like, whoa.
Yeah, another thing to look at is, and then an agent can do this as well through MLS to see if a property that you're looking at is in a flood zone,
Mhm.
because your lender will require you to get flood insurance if that property is in the flood zone. It's not that much. I think it's $400 or $500 a year, but um, regardless of your thoughts on climate change, we are seeing more extreme weather now in Oklahoma and around the world, and the 100-year floods are becoming 10-year floods now. So.
Mhm.
Any property that you're looking at, see any creeks or rivers that are nearby and double check it's not in a flood zone, because that could become a potential problem down the line.
Well, Ben, how often does the Oklahoma River flood? Is that something we should be paying attention to?
Not so much the Oklahoma River. It's more just like little ancillary creeks that kind of wind through different neighborhoods. North Oklahoma City has quite a few creeks. A lot of the storm runoff will
There's just
go.
certain areas that always flood, like that always go under.
Mhm.
And sometimes you'll go like 10 years and you won't have that much rain, and then people will build a house there. And if you've been around and you're like, why are they building a house where it's going to flood? But I know at Council and Edmond Road, they actually redid the road and they lifted it up because it always is underwater there. And it's
Mhm.
not as bad.
I know Del City has some flood zones. Really, anywhere that's nearby any type of creek is apt to flood.
Yukon.
Yeah, Yukon.
Yukon's bad.
I know last fall, a lot of Yukon was underwater.
It was like a lake. It was crazy. It was over by
Mhm.
where Funk lives.
Really?
Yeah.
It was
Because
Clydesdales.
they're actually redoing it. You couldn't go down that road because it was flooded.
Mm-hmm.
But they're actually like redoing that road and widening it and make it I don't think they made the bridge tall enough, because that area has always flooded my entire life. But they're trying to make it higher. But yeah, that section of Yukon always floods.
Earthquake insurance was a thing for about 5 minutes here in Oklahoma. While oil and gas companies were doing fracking to get some of the natural gas out, Oklahoma experienced dozens of earthquakes from about 2011 to 2017, and quite a bit of damage to homes caused by those earthquakes, and it wasn't covered because earthquake rider was not in the majority of policies. We haven't seen hardly any earthquakes now since they've stopped fracking. My oil and gas friends will never admit to any correlation between fracking and earthquakes, but it's kind of unmistakable at this point since they stopped fracking and we stopped having earthquakes. But that could be one thing. It's not very expensive, but flood insurance for sure is something you want to be aware of any property you look at to make sure it's not in a flood zone.
And is insurance, the rate of insurance impacted if you are renting the property out versus living in it?
Yeah, because it wouldn't cover, it wouldn't cover any personal property in the structure. Now, if you have a policy on your personal residence, a lot of that policy is going to cover some of your personal possessions, whatever you itemize as value to your insurance company. As a rental property, though, it's on the tenant to have renter's insurance, which I always recommend to tenants to have that just in case. But with rentals, you're just insuring the structure and ensuring if it floods or not.
So is that typically going to be a lower rate than having personal? Okay.
Mm-hmm. It'd be a little lower.
Okay.
If you do short-term rentals as well, that can be a little higher. Not all insurance companies will do Airbnb or VRBO because of the inherent risk. I have one short-term rental in Northeast Oklahoma City, and my policy is a little higher, maybe 10, 15 extra bucks a month. But yeah, and if you get to a certain scale, you can get an umbrella policy, which instead of having itemized policies per house, you can get a better deal with an umbrella policy that pretty much covers everything.
Okay.
Yeah, that really only makes sense when you get into that 10 plus properties to not have them itemized per address.
I found
Okay.
out that you can get an umbrella policy from one insurance company, and your properties don't have to all be with that insurance company.
Well, explain how that works.
I don't know. I just had asked about it because our houses are all insured with different companies.
Oh, interesting.
And they said that no, that they could do it, write an umbrella for houses that aren't with that particular company.
So
You mean like
if-
the broker, like if you use the same broker, but then that broker uses different insurance companies?
No, okay, so let's say if I have 4 houses and they're insured by State Farm, Farmers, different people, shelter, I can go to one of them and then they can write an umbrella policy for those 4 houses, and they don't have to be under the same insurance company.
So is that the way you have it now? Is you have 4 different insurance companies?
We have several.
Is that by design, or is it just it's kind of always been that way?
It's just me cleaning up a mess for my dad.
Okay.
So I think he went to each insurance and 2 vehicles here, a house here, 2 vehicles here, a house here, that kind of a thing.
Yeah. Yeah. Just for your own peace of mind, I would look at streamlining a lot of that to get it under.
It's on my list.
Yeah.
I'm
Okay.
doing legal stuff right now. That's more
I figured it
important.
would be.
Yeah, I got legal. Then I'll move on to the insurance.
Yeah. I have all my stuff through Farmers, and then anything that's considered subprime. For instance, I had one house and some of the soffits had chip paint and a couple other issues. And they said, well, we can't insure it, but we'll have our subprime foremost insure it. So it's still under Farmers. It's a couple more bucks a month, but I went that route. And it's easier because I have one agent. It's just one phone call to make. And I like to handle it that way.
Yeah, I'd like to have it all in one agency, but the only thing too is because we're in Oklahoma and most people have dogs or cats, State Farm is one of the only people that don't limit a dog, and you can have any kind of dog.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah, I know they don't like pit bulls.
no, there is a huge list. There is a huge list for like I called about one of our houses, and they gave me a list of like 20 dogs. And some of them I'd never heard of, and some of them I never thought that they would be an issue.
Even Snoop Dogg was on there.
Yeah.
That was a dad joke.
Definitely.
Cool. That was a good question, Tony. Any other market intel we could share with you?
Yeah, actually, it was $700 a year, not a month. I'm sorry about that, guys. Just correction. It sounds a lot better now, right?
Yeah. 700. I mean, you want to make sure, a monthly policy is great, or a monthly payment's great, but you want to make sure your policy will cover if there is damage. So just make sure you're not getting the bargain basement, the general or whatever, like for your car. Make sure the policy will cover, and your deductible isn't through the roof as well.
Which sounds like it's a little bit lower than what you guys were saying about
Yeah.
$100 per door.
Yeah, it would probably $1,200 annually would probably be a good average
estimate.
rate for a single family home in Oklahoma City.
Got it. Kate, I have a quick question for you. In terms of renovation wise, say if you were renovating a 600-700 square feet unit, roughly, if you don't mind, what's your estimate on that by any chance? Like just completely redoing the floors, painting, whole
Kate might have
kitchen
some
and
good answers
bathroom?
for that.
So it's gonna really depend on the materials, what you have, because for example, if you're doing, if it's a home that's raised up that has a crawl space underneath, and you are wanting to put in like a vinyl floor, depending on what your depending on what the substrate is, it would depend on if we need to go in and put any OSB, which, as you know, the material costs are really high right now. If you wanted to do tile, we need to either coat it with some kind of a waterproofing or like put in concrete board or something so that the mortar that you use to stick the tile to the ground can stay there and not dry out too fast, because if it dries out, you're going to end up with tile that's coming up in 6 months or a year or something. Like that's just on the floor. And then if you're replacing the cabinetry versus keeping the cabinetry or painting it, or it's really, I know in bigger pockets, there's like what I think the base is like $15 a square foot for an estimate, if you're like just to kind of estimate what you're going to be spending, and then it goes up to like $30 or $35 a square foot, just as like a general idea. But for accurate numbers, it's really going to depend on what all it needs, how it was done beforehand, what if you're going to be moving any walls or anything. It kind of, if it's just a light update, we can sometimes just get in there and really, paint everything. Maybe just change out the countertops if you're leaving the cabinets the same stained color that they were already. You can get in there for maybe $3,000 to $5,000, depending on the paint and everything. But if you're going to be changing out the floor, depending on what you have, you could get in there and do carpet, and it would be really low cost. But that may not be the target market for the rental later. So there's a way to get in there and do it really cheaply, but that maybe might not get you the return that you're looking for.
Yeah, Tony, I did it was a one side of a duplex. It was just one bed, one bath. It's probably like 500 square feet. It's tiny. And so we put carpet just because we had some remnant carpet available, and then some vinyl planks in the bathroom and kitchen, and then did all new paint, some light fixtures, and we ended up spending about $2,700. And it is what it is. It's we get $595 a month for it, and I was able to raise the rent. It was $500 a month, but I was able to get $95 more a month with some of those new updates. So it'll pay for itself eventually.
Nice.
And then one other thing to consider is the age of the home. Any home built, Kate would probably have an opinion on this. Any home built after the 60s would have less problems as it pertains to knob and tube wiring, any of the copper plumbing. So the age of the home is another thing to consider, because some of those things they did in the 30s and 40s are definitely not up to code now. And those are things that would have to be remedied from a safety perspective.
And then also depending on where it is, because at least what we've experienced and what I've learned from talking to plumbers, in Edmond, I guess they have like really acidic soil. And so the plumbing ends up kind of being eaten away and corroded faster than some of the other areas in the city.
I hadn't heard that. Yeah, Edmond does. I live in Edmond. It does have notoriously hard water. I know.
Maybe that's why.
Go out sooner because the water's so hard. That's a good question, though, Tom.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah, another thing, Tony, that I've learned from Ben recently is that rent ready compared to what I'm used to in San Diego is a lot different than what the expectations are of tenants in some of like the C-class neighborhoods in Oklahoma. So it surprised me when I'm going in with the plan of, okay, we're going to replace this, replace that, fix this, paint that. And Ben's like, whoa, slow down. You don't need to do any of that. And I'm just like, well, okay. So still kind of a learning curve in terms of what needs to be done to a property as we get it ready for a tenant.
Yeah, I've walked through not on my own properties, but ones for other clients, because I manage some other ones. And what tenants talk about and care about, it has been eye-opening for me, what they add value to. Dogs and cats, they would prefer more to have their dog and cat in the house than any type of upgrade that you could ever make. It seems like 90% of tenants these days have a pet, which kind of baffles me to not own a home.
That's Oklahoma, though. Oklahoma has the highest per capita dog and cat ownership of any other state.
Really?
Oh, I believe it.
Yeah.
Every
That's
tenant I
why-
talk to has a pet.
That's why I'm always like dog policies. I'm trying to figure all that out because most people are it's gonna be a deal breaker if they can't bring
Yeah.
their dog.
And the instinct as a landlord is to say no pets because of the damage that a pet will do. But you're going to eliminate a lot of quality tenants that love their pets way more than they love your house. So some tenants do, or some landlords do a pet fee where it could be something that baked into the lease. So if the rent's $500 a month, you have to pay $30 a month extra for your pet. I just do a non-refundable pet deposit of $350 per pet, and I haven't got much pushback on that. If the house is carpet, you're most likely going to have to replace the carpet if a pet's there, but carpet's carpet. It's pretty cheap, and it's just the price of doing business now because people want to have their animals.
Do you put stipulations on their pets, like they need to be spayed or neutered, or there's no kittens or no puppies? Do you do things like that?
If they do any damage outside the house, they're liable for that damage. So if they have a dog that tears down someone else's fence or bites a kid across the street, it's not liable on me, it's liable on them. It's kind of different because I'm a licensed agent in Oklahoma. So ethically, I have to use the lease and the rental application from the Oklahoma Real Estate Commission. I can't, as a licensed agent, create my own leases and create my own terms of doing business. So I have to use what the OREC lease is. But I know a lot of landlords do have some different riders on pet damage outside their property. So it's something to be mindful of. It's just something I can't do since I'm a licensed agent.
Then it sounds like you manage your properties yourself, Ben. So one of the headaches I've heard is the management portion. Like, I don't want someone calling me 24 hours a day. So I've looked into having a property management company, even from house number one,
Mm-hmm.
right? And just, bake that into the cost and just prepare that, because that takes a lot off my plate to be able to do what I want to do, which is look at the properties, knock on doors, find new deals, instead of worrying about fixing a toilet. What are you guys' thoughts on that?
It always goes back to toilets. That's like,
well, because I'm fixing mine right now.
Okay.
But yes, it does.
It's always every question I get is about toilets.
But
I manage them myself just for because not that I necessarily like it, but I just don't see a ton of value in my portfolio now to have a property manager. I just haven't gotten to that level. I'm able to. So I have 7 myself and I manage 4 others. And it doesn't take that much time out of my month, especially if all the units are filled. It's a headache though when I'm trying to find a tenant because you're dealing with people and schedules and no-shows, and some of that can be a pain in the ass. But there is a value to property managers to be able to just collect that rent and not have to worry about it. So if that's something that where you don't like going out and identifying problems at houses or dealing with tenants, which can be troublesome, I think it's definitely worth hiring a property manager. It's just not something that's right for me at this point. And then also it's good to have, and I've learned this the hard way, to kind of create that buffer. Or a lot of the tenants that I manage, I don't really 100%. I just say I'm the property manager. I'm not lying, but I want to sometimes be able to blame somebody else. Like, well, the owner says we can't do that. Owner says this, owner says that. So in the event you do manage your own, kind of create that buffer where you can cast blame on somebody else.
Okay. Joe, how have you done this since you're in California from a property management standpoint? What's your take?
I'm going into it with the idea that the first probably 10 properties we're going to manage ourselves. I've got my son there full time, and this is part of his learning process. The first probably 10, and we're going to see how it goes after that. Before I bring on a property management company, I'd want to know what they do specifically so that I'd know how to manage the property manager. So I think that there's a kind of a learning curve that you've got to kind of take yourself. That's my personal opinion. and just to kind of know how to do it. So when you do turn it over to a property management company, you can be very specific about what your expectations are. So we're going to be doing it ourselves for a while. At any point we could always hire a management company to find a tenant only, and then we'll still handle the monthly, if we have to go that route. But, we're closing our first couple properties, like I said, next week. So we're going to be learning real quickly, what that entails. So.
And then one other thing I'll throw in is just the psychology of tenants. A lot of times they just want to be heard, and you can deter a lot of turnover if you just hear people out. And even if you don't agree with what they want fixed, as long as they feel like they have the ear of somebody, whether it's the property manager or the owner, that somebody's listening to them. And that's a good way to avoid vacancy, because that's 9 times out of 10, the reason people move out is because they don't like the landlord or the property manager. So I found that's a good way to have some type of relationship where they feel like if you text or call, even if you can't fix it right away, or you don't agree with that upgrade that they want, at least they're being heard. And that's more of a psychology thing, but people are people. And I found as long as someone feels heard, they're more apt to take care of your property.
Yeah, I agree with that. I also found that, since we were in that crazy cold spell, and then if you needed a plumber, that was just not happening, or your house had to explode. And so I found that if I just every 2 or 3 days say, okay, we have called them again and they're on the list, they think maybe next week, maybe next Friday. And then every 2 or 3 days I call it, okay, we've called 5 more plumbers or whatever the thing was. One of it was not an emergency at all, but I just kept reiterating to these tenants that we are still in contact and they've got us on the list, and reminded them that we had this insane cold that everyone's backed up, and we were calling plumbers and they were saying we can't get to you for like 4 weeks.
Yeah,
so.
Plumbers were the hottest girls in town for about 2 weeks. They kind of still are.
They still are. Yeah.
For whatever reason, every plumbing company has staffing problems. There's just not enough people in that trade that can stick at a job. I don't know why. It's not like that with electricians. It's not really like that with landscapers or framers. It's always plumbers that they seem to have issue with staffing. Well, anybody else got anything to add before I wrap this up? Well, cool. Well, Kate, glad you joined us again. I always appreciate your input on the remodel side. So hope you'll join us again in 2 weeks. And Aaron and Tony, thanks for joining us as well. Hope you'll come back. We do this every 2 weeks.
Sounds good. Time. Thank you, everyone.
Yeah, and if you haven't joined, Kelsey and I started a Facebook group. You can just search Oklahoma City Bigger Pockets and you'll be able to find it. But we like to create a community there as well for people who can't join the meetings at this time, and create a dialogue and, hopefully share vendors, share deals, really build up that community. So if you get a chance, find that on Facebook and join it.
Hey, Kate, are you part of that Facebook group?
I believe so.
Okay.
I think I am. Yeah.
Cool.
I'll double check. If not, I'll join.
Okay. Sounds good. All right. Well, I'm going to wrap it up. Then if you have any questions, reach out to me through Bigger Pockets or Facebook or whatever. And then we'll see you again in a couple weeks.
Thank you, Ben.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Ben.